All right, people, we are back for Battle Hub Draft League recaps here with the week one going up with Danger Dave and RK9er. So, as you can see here, Danger Dave's got a pretty cool rain team core. They got the Politoed and the Barraskewda, backed by the Raikou and the Dry Skin Bombardier. So it's gonna not Bombardier, Dry Skin Toxicroak. Um, Bombardier is their lead though. Going into Pokemon such as the Donphan, the round 1 Donphan, as well as mons like Noivern, which can take advantage of the rain, and Vaporeon, which can absorb any type of water type attacks coming its way. Noivern being able to fire off those 100% accurate Hurricanes gets led off right off the bat. Frisk is one of those abilities that, you don't commonly think about, but in the draft format, it's actually very useful. So they are immediately able to find out this thing is boots. Or what? Loaded dice, sorry. So they are going to Zerastalize here and become a Terra Fairy. So let's see what they want to do here. They go for the U-turn. Terra Fairy immediately for any potential Dracos. Do allow them to now resist this U-turn, which would have done slightly more since it was would have been a neutral attack. Otherwise, gets the Intimidate off with the RK9. Now, we will see what is going to happen here, though, because the rocks are up, which is solid. Of course, they could be rapid spun away at any point, because unfortunately for Danger Dave, does not have a ghost type with him on his team. So, they're going to go for the Wild Charge, do big damage, massive damage to Bombardier. Goes for the Rock Blast. After that Intimidate, not going to quite be able to do it with only 5 hits, with only 4 hits. They needed that 5th hit to be able to pop off. So they're going to go for the knockoff. I'm not even sure after a Wild Charge if that's going to be able to take out the RK9 with the chip damage. Could have potentially gone Raikou there. I don't know if that was it choice band damage. I'm honestly not sure. It did a lot, but not confirmed whether or not it's choice band. But if it was, then could have gone out Hachi there. So we'll see if it is choice band or not. Bring in the Tentacruel. They do indeed decide to go out to it now, so I guess they just wanted to make sure. The rain is up now, though, so at least if it wasn't banded, they would be able to take it a little bit, fire type attacks a little bit better. The Noivern is not boots, and they confirm that this Tentacruel is light clay as they get up a light screen. So now, 8 turns of light screen, but unfortunately for this Noivern, does not have access to Infiltrate. They went for the Frisk, I've always been more of an infiltrator type guy myself. I love ignoring substitutes and screens, but they went for the Frisk route. If they did have Defog though, this will be an apt time to be able to go for it. They send in the Arcanine to sack it off with the rocks, as the Raikou decides to lock itself into Weather Ball. Now they send in the Donphan. Now, considering that they just went for the Weather Ball, they could immediately knock this thing down with sturdy. Obviously, the Donphan is heavy duty boots, so even if they were to get rocks back up again, because this Donphan is most likely going to Rapid Spin, they want to get rid of these rocks. They're going to keep on shipping down the Noivern and other mons. Unfortunately for Danger Dave, they decide to go hard out into the Toedscruel, which now gets chipped. Donphan is still healthy, and it's not looking too good for. That was a big opportunity cost there. Loss of opportunity to get this Donphan down to 1 HP. They do decide to go for Reflect, so they at least do have screens, but now this Decidueye is in, and there is not much that this Toedscruel can do in its face. They're going to have to switch out, obviously, but what will they be able to do about it? So they send in the Raikou on this Decidueye, who does need go for the SD. Decidueye can be a scary threat once it's set. Thankfully, they do have coverage for it. They do have Shadow Ball, which, you wouldn't have thought that this Raikou would have been able to hit it otherwise, but thankfully, in draft, you get to prep ahead of time, so they did indeed bring coverage for this Decidueye. Does massive damage, but the +2 Spirit Shackle doesn't quite take him out, but it does get them in range easily of a priority attack, whether it be Shadow Sneak or Sucker Punch. So we'll see what Decidueye wants to do here. Because they are stuck, they cannot switch out either. They cannot go for Volt Switch, even then they would get outsped by the priority. And Raikou goes down. One of their big ways of dealing with the Vaporeon has now been taken out, unfortunately. And meanwhile, they're still having to deal with Decidueye. So they decide to go into Politoed, which of course, Reflect is up, but let's not forget, Leaf Blade has a high crit chance. Thankfully for Danger Dave, they don't get that crit. And it just barely manages to live the Leaf Blade behind the Reflect. So, Decidueye is gone. That's one threat down. But Arcaniner still has many other threats. Notably, this Noivern, who no longer has to be rocks, and now has the rain set up for it, and now it can freely spam hurricanes into his team. Remember, the Raikou is gone. He doesn't have any more hurricane switch-ins hardly. His usual Spadefmon is weak to hurricane, so he's got to figure out some other way to deal with it. Thankfully, though, the rain does boost Barrascuda's speed, which it would be able to outspeed this Noivern normally anyways, assuming that it's not Scarf. So, Danger Dave knows that this Barrascuda is going to be able to outspeed it, knows that they're likely going to switch out, but that Vaporeon is the one that comes in. So they go for the mid-ground, go for the Ice Fang. I might have gone for a CC myself, expecting the Vaporeon, but you don't want to get caught lacking and lose your Barrascuda. So, in comes Mini Magellan on the Shadow Ball. How much does it take? Takes a good chunk, but thankfully the Dry Skin and the Black Sludge is able to get it up a decent chunk. Fortunately, though, the Reflect does wear off, as now they decide to go for the Bulk Up here. So, bit of a risk here. They're taking more chip from this Vaporeon. We'll see what they want to do. They could also try to Baton Pass. They are just going to go for the Shadow Ball. Remember, Shadow Ball has the chance to get this Spadef drop on them, so it's a little dangerous, but they do manage to stick around. So, now they can go for a Gunk Shot. Big damage into anything on their team. This could be pretty good here. They do manage to take out the Vaporeon, which is absolutely massive for Danger Dave. He's getting the recovery. This Toxicroak is putting in the work. We've now seen two different Mons try to set up against each other. In comes Zebstrika, though. Let's see what this Zebstrika can do. They are +1 defense. High horsepower, though, is super effective, and that is going to take out this Toxicroak, who usually does not have that much defense. Remember, the Reflect already wore off. Maybe if the Reflect was still up, they would be able to live, but not enough turns. So, this does allow Barrascuda to come in now, and now it no longer fears the Vaporeon. It is free to simply flip turn around. But if you take a look at Danger Dave's side, only 2 Pokemon left. So they are down in terms of stacks. They are going to Terra the Zebstrika on the other side into Terra Ice. Maybe just in case, predicting a potential Ice move like they saw before. May as well Terra, because you're not going to be able to Terra again otherwise. So it is now 2-2. The only 2 left are the Barrascuda and this Toadstool. But unfortunately, this Toadstool is basically just a support set. So the best they can try to do is maybe try to set up screens or something, but the Noivern comes back in. They can try to Sludge Bomb and get some more chip, but the Hurricane is immediately going to be take it out. In comes the Barrascuda. It's Barrascuda versus the Whirlyear. Although it is only 2 Pokemon on the opposing side, they have to try to go for the Ice Fang. Now, I will say, take a look at Barrascuda's HP stat, 263. That is 0 HP Barrascuda. They did not need that much speed, so they could have potentially put more into HP. I say that as we see this Donphan. We'll see. This is a Choice Banded Ice Fang. Even though Ice Fang is weak, it is coming out with a Choice Band attack. And this is offensive Donphan, which does manage to take out the Barrascuda. Very unfortunate for Danger Dave there, but for Arcaniner, snagging their first dub in the BHDL Season 6. So, congratulations to Arcaniner. Danger Dave, though, not too bad of a first appearance. Alright, so for Game 2, we're going to be seeing Abomination take on none other than DrVr. 2 contenders that were very close to each other last season. DrVr just barely missing the cutoff for playoffs by a few differential points. Now they come here to face off. So let's see what's going to happen. DrVr decides to lead right off with the Grimmsnarl. This Grimmsnarl has been hyped up in the BHDL Discord server. You don't want to forget just how strong this thing is offensively, in addition to its vast support moveset. So, Duraludon here, a Violite, doesn't really have too much to fear from this Grimmsnarl. They are going to Parting Shot, though. I don't know why. I thought that Duraludon had Clear Body, but I think I'm just thinking about Metagross. So, they're really going to be able to switch out here. and get something else in. Let's see what it's going to be. It's going to be the Pecharunt, as of course Al says it. Rocks, not too bad of an idea here. Pecharunt's a scary Pokemon though. Of course, they do have Duraludon, which walls off its poison type moves, but its Shadow Balls can still hit pretty hard after some nasty plots. As indeed we do see a nasty plot from DrVr's side. Has the potential for Thunder Wave here. I don't know why they would ever guess about clicking Brick Break. If you're going to click Thunder Wave, just go ahead and click Thunder Wave, my friend, but let's see. So we do indeed see another nasty plot here, as the Thunder Wave does manage to land. They are now at +3, or a ×3 attack, rather, special attack, +4 in terms of stages. Now, obviously, we can expect a Shadow Ball coming off here, so if you want to switch in the Persian, it might not be too bad of an idea. And of course, as we've seen, Abomination is not afraid to use the Paraflinch tactics in draft, as we've seen before, versus Scorpion. So they go for the Shadow Ball, doesn't affect the Persian. And now they can be free to go for the Dark Pulse. We'll see how much this wants to do, though. Persian doesn't have the best stats, but, you know, it is coming off a Life Orb attack, so maybe it can at least 2 KO, or one would hope it, at the very least 3 KO. Depends on how much Spadef investment that they put into this Pecharunt, but considering it's naturally high defense, you don't have to put much into it. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even sure if that 3 KOs does a lot. Just immediately takes out the Persian with the Malignant Chain there. Now they no longer have any Shadow Ball switch in, so he's gonna have to figure out a way to be able to deal with this thing. They do have the Scarf Moltres option. Of course, they do also have Haze on Blastoise, which it seems like that's what they're gonna do here. Although they are second guessing, they could potentially do that. But if they fail to kill and they break through Paralysis, that loses your Moltres. So better to go with the safe way. Just get rid of those boosts with the Haze, and then get something else. And you could also potentially get a Torrent boost here, assuming after you get rid of it, then 2 Malignant Chains might bring it down to the Torrent, but they actually get fully paralyzed there, allowing Blastoise to easily be able to flip turn on its next turn. Although, considering that it's paralyzed, yeah, the flip turn is going to go first. I have to take Rocky Helmet Chip, so not the best situation for Al here, as now they're going to have to decide what is going to come in to take an attack. As the Pecharunt does decide to go for Recover, so pretty standard move set here on the Pecharunt side, just full setup, as the Duraludon is going to try to hit this thing and hopefully try to get rid of it as soon as they can. They go for the Dark Pulse, not quite a 2 KO, but again, the Paraflinch gets paralyzed. So, let me see, 80 times 2, 160 Draco. I think Draco honestly might do more at this point. We will see though what happens here. The thing about Draco, you got to keep in mind, you know, you don't want to let anything else get in that could potentially set up or get an advantage on you. They do decide to save the Pecharunt for later, as Kyle Rayner comes in on a potential Draco. Yep, there it is. So great play on DrVr's part, scouting that out. Now the Grimmsnarl has the opportunity to either get up a screen, parting shot, or get off an attack. So Al is put a little bit on the back foot here, being forced to switch out, as they do go for the parting shot. And with the clear amulet, that is going to stop them from being able to attack, or stop them from being able to switch. So gonna go for the Sludge Bomb into the very top, but DrVr counters with the Stomping Tantrum, folks. Huge play from Life Orb Grimmsnarl here, because of the fact that the clear amulet made the parting shot fail. That doubled Stomping Tantrum's power, so even this max defense Swalot gets absolutely destroyed by Grimmsnarl. Remember what we said, roughly 120 base attack. So coming off of a Life Orb hit, that Stomping Tantrum, 150 base power after it failed. So again, Al is put on the back foot here. They're having to figure out what they're going to do. At the very least, they do have Rocks up. They do have that going for them. But now they're going to have to figure out what else they're going to be able to do here. As one doesn't wonder, it might honestly have been better to just flash can this thing from the start. Of course, obviously, they could have parting shot it, as they do right here. But, you don't have too much else that you could do here. At the very least, could have gotten some damage off on something else. Um, though, of course, Al could never have predicted the Stomping Tantrum Life Orb set, so can't fault him too much on that. Now, goes to the Flash Cannon, gets this thing fairly chipped. This Petron's taking a lot of chip damage, as goes for the Dark Pulse and is able to take it out with the crit. Of course, based on that Flash Cannon damage, I don't think that crit mattered. So now we will see what is going to happen coming up here, as the Duraludon is not looking too bad here. Hasn't suffered any attack drops from Dracos. It's still chilling. The Stealth Rocks are up. You could go out into a number of options, such as the Antelion. They decide to go back out in Grimmsnarl here. It is taking a decent amount of chip from the rocks and the Life Orb racking up. They are free to go for the Flash Cannon. Oh, that's right. I was thinking it. They did indeed suffer a attack drop from the parting shot previously. They do go for an attack this time. Does even more chip, although with the Life Orb damage it's taken, does successfully take out the Grimmsnarl. So Rocks and Life Orb adding up there. I mean, overall, probably doing roughly 40%, more than 40% to that Grimmsnarl there. The Duraludon is effectively at -2 though, so is not going to be able to hit things for too much at this point, as the Phalanx does come in. But of course, we've already seen that Blastoise has Haze, so if they could potentially live a hit here, although I will say, this is Phalanx's probably best opportunity to attempt to set up here. So we will see what they want to go for. So, they switch out as Blastoise comes in, goes for the no retreat, as you kind of just got to hope that your Blastoise is able to hang on here to this attack. Phalanx is their Terra Captain. Phalanx, one of the better Terra Captains in this league. So we'll see what is going to happen here, as you basically don't really have too much of a choice but to go for the Haze. You could try to switch, but you're risking anything else getting to it, given by any coverage moves. So we do indeed see the Terra. Let's find out what it is. It is Terra Ghost. Not doing too much except for just Blastoise in particular, but perhaps the other members of the team, as we do see that it successfully gets the Haze off. The thing about the no retreat, this Phalanx is now stuck. So as soon as they can find a way to get rid of it, they won't have to deal with it anymore. So obviously, another CC will, they go for the Terra Blast instead, actually, as does not manage to get the kill on the Blastoise, perhaps wanting to predict a Moltres or a Jumpluff coming in, as the Jumpluff will now come in. So now this Phalanx is at -2 defense. So we'll see what's going to happen here. And unfortunately, this is a really tough situation for DrVr, because their Phalanx is unable to switch her. You got to wonder if Al maybe ever saw this coming. A situation potentially where Phalanx is stuck, can no longer switch. Although I will say, you got to admit that DrVr came in clutch with the mirror here for the Cotton Guard. Although at this point, this Jumpluff is now +6 defense. They are doing absolutely nothing to it. Now they are free to set up to +6 with the Swords Dance as well. And because they outspeed the Phalanx naturally with Jumpluff's naturally high 110 speed, they never have a chance to be able to flinch them. At this point, DrVr's only way out is by hopefully being able to crit this Jumpluff. And you might be wondering, well, what is the Jumpluff's Terra that it could potentially Terra out of being weak to rock? But unfortunately, it is Steel, which means that, of course, if they were to go for that, Okay, we're getting a bit of flashbacks here to crits as they go for the rock slide, goes for the fake out on the viewer here, making us think that they would actually um, go for that. Goes for the strength sap, which because the Defiant actually is making this Phalanx stronger, but because of all the defense boosts, it's still not going to do that much. Now, they do have a Moringa Berry, which for those of you who don't know, activates when you are hit by a special attack. So just trying to whittle down this Phalanx as much as possible without getting crit. Decides to go for the extra strength sap here in order to get a little bit of more HP. And so even though this Phalanx is now effectively at +2, remember the no retreat boost got hazed earlier, still not able to do that much as the Phalanx is down. This jump off is now at +6/+6 attack and defense. So you're gonna need a special attacker to try to take this out. But even then, DrVr knows that this thing has not terraed yet, so he has to try to be able to terra to potentially allow the Inteleon to be able to hit it. So at this point, he continues to go for the Strength Sap actually, but they do indeed Terra Steel. Triple Axle would do a billion damage, 4 times super effective. So they're forced to terra. They actually go for the Rock Blast here. Still would have done a good chip, but with the Terra Steel, it's doing absolutely nothing at this point. And Strength Sap is going to heal all of that HP. All that progress that DrVr just did is now canceled out. And they are free to now go for the +6 acrobatics into something. Even though it's only 55 base power, it still does massive damage into this Flygon, who is now severely chipped. They do go for the Earthquake here, which then allows the Jumpluff to be able to heal. Perhaps anticipating a special attacking Flygon here. Unfortunately for DrVr, it was just another physical attacker. So the Moringa Berry is still not activated. As Inteleon now comes out, this is a special attack right here. So gonna have to try to hit really hard and do a bunch of damage all at once. This thing that you go for the Hydro, that is big damage, but it's not enough to be able to take out the Jumpluff. As now the Moringa Berry activates the full power of the acrobatics. Just wasn't quite enough to be able to get that damage off that they needed. So now goes the acrobatics into the Chinchino, and then is going to be good game to Al and DrVr. Well played on both sides, lots of great techs, but unfortunately, the thing that really decided this game was the no retreating Phalanx, which just gave Al all the opportunity in the world to set up, especially with the Cotton Guard. So, GG's, we're going to move on. Third game of the week. Alright, so for game 3, we have a very interesting matchup of the Draft League veteran Aprater going up against the newcomer to the BHGL in Zeus. We can see that Aprater has 3 heavy-duty boots mons. A very useful thing to have, considering that they have no spinner. But they've got the Arachnid, who is going to get a webs for mons like Lucario and Ceruledge. Basically everything uses webs on this team, honestly. That will make great use of it. Piloswine, maybe not as much, but on Zeus' side, we do see this team that was heavily criticized by the Draft League BHGL commissioners. Of course, the mons that they did bring are very expensive mons, so it's a very top-heavy team, and they brought pretty much their strongest Pokemon to this game, so hopefully that'll give them the edge, even though it's predictable. You know, we like to say, what are you going to do about it? Very good mons here. As they bring out the Entei here on the Trailblaze, takes a little bit of chip, but at this point, the Lucario is forced out, so now you have to wonder, well, what are you going to bring in? Well, they do have a Flash Fire Ceruledge, but you have to be wary. The Entei gets coverage, and you don't want to get on the wrong thing. So Aprater decides to make up a gambit, go out into the Ceruledge, and see what move they go for, and it is going to be Sacred Fire this time around. Correct prediction on Aprater. So, gonna go for the free Poltergeist here. Not much wants to take this. Whatever comes in is gonna get its item found out. And then, of course, if it doesn't resist Bitter Blade, then that Bitter Blade is gonna pop off. So out comes Empoleon, Goes for the Poltergeist, gets hit by its Assault Vest, does huge damage with crit. Although I would have to assume that the Bitter Blade probably would have killed anyways afterwards with the Flash Fire boost. But it's still, a crit is a crit, and it is unfortunate for Zeus. They are on the back foot, but they can potentially force this Cerulege out with something else. So they send out Entei once again. So the fact that they switched this out, switched it back in, is screaming that this is a choice item of some sort. Most likely choice banded. You know, with the speed, you're gonna run a one choice band to maximize the damage here. Goes for the Stomping Tantrum. Even though it's only a 75 base power hit, that did a good chunk. That's almost like 25% shift. So basically confirming ban here at this point as they send out the Kleavor, as Araquanid is able to get up the webs. And they do have a Hitmontop, which could potentially rapid spin, but Cerulege is a fairly decent spin blocker, so they decide to let, they trust in the power of Cerulege to keep the webs up. As Araquanid goes down, Kleavor does get rocks up on Aprater's side, but like we said, they've got 3 heavy-duty Bootsmons, so it's not actually that big of a deal here. Although chip is chip on any mons you can get. And there was potential for any knockoff mods they have remaining, although I'm not sure if they really have any left. So out comes the Entei. Takes the Sticky Webs as it misses the Meteor Mash. So Aprater was fairly certain that Meteor Mash, especially if it got a +1, plus EQ probably would have killed. They definitely needed a +1 for that to happen, but incorrectly makes the switch this time and goes out into the barrier, so he takes a full-on choice banded crunch there, as now Aprater is on the back foot trying to force out this Entei. So Pardos comes in, is going to try to go for the Sheer Force Rock Slide and do a bunch of damage to something. Of course, Rampardos has a massive attack stat. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the usual speed to back it up, but backed up by webs, this Rampardos could be a menace. All they need is to just land the Rock Slide on whatever wants to come in. Now that Empoleon's gone, not a whole lot of other Rock Slide switchings. Hitmontop is another one, though. They do have Clear Amulet. Gonna go for the Rock Slide there. But because it resists and Hitmontop is a fairly defensive one, it is able to tank the Rock Slide head on. Go for the Rapid Spin there. Like we said, Cerulege can block it. And now Cerulege is in the driver's seat. Gonna go for the Swords Dance here, hoping that this Hitmontop isn't able to hit them. They do go for an Earthquake that would do big damage. However, Cerulege is able to outspeed it, so as long as they don't have Sucker Punch from this Hitmontop, they are going to get Bitter Bladed. So they decide to withdraw. They must not have Sucker Punch. So that +2 Bitter Blade into this Entei is going to do massive damage. Big damage. Oh, another crit though, but a Poltergeist would like to kill either way. So because they are now in range, they're able to get even more healing, as now this Entei is gone. So another Mon for Cerulege. So at this point, they need to figure out how to get rid of this thing. The Sticky Webs are going to be up. Of course, at this point, this Kleavor, the way it's coming in, is very likely Focus Sash lead. So in other words, it should be able to, as long as it lands a Stone Axe, take out this Cerulege. But they're going to try to go for the Will-O-Wisps here to attempt to break through it. They go for the Night Slash, and because of that, they are able to get it. So now they're going to go for the free Bitter Blade and be able to heal all of that back up. So another kill for the Cerulege. Cerulege seems unstoppable at this point. Not much is able to be taken out. Anything that was wanted to switch in has been dealt with. Now Sylveon comes in. Gonna go for the Poltergeist to do even more damage to this thing. +2. Goes for the Poltergeist. Gets hit by the Light Clay. Massive damage, but it's not quite enough to deal with a Sylveon. As now the Cerulege is the Cerulege has been yawned. So it's drowsy. So being forced to switch out into the Pillow-Swine here. Pillow-Swine comes in. Let's see what it goes for. Goes to the Light Screen. Interesting though is nothing on. You know, I gotta be honest here. I'm not really sure what that Light Screen was for. Although, no, Lucario showed Meteor Mash, so nothing on this team really wants to take a spit at it. But maybe they were potentially trying to sack off the Sylveon there. Either way. Now, the Pillow-Swine is in versus the Hitmontop goes to the Earthquake. They're both just exchanging Earthquakes. So it's not looking too bad here. The Sylveon's gone. The Pillow-Swine getting 2 kills here is honestly kind of crazy. But now it comes down to the final Pokemon, who is this Luxray. Goes to the Icicle Crash. They know that they're going to tear into something, so they know they're not going to be weak to ground anymore. So they are indeed going to Terra, as they are revealed to be Terra Normal. Now for Aprater, he's just trying to get off some shit. They do some mass amount of shit, but the agility though. The agility with the Flame Orb, you can see Aprater had to sit up in his seat because this is a scary Pokemon now. +1 speed with the agility canceling out and overdubbing the Sticky Web drop. And now Guts boosted facades are about to pop off. So this is where you would really want to have E-Speed or something. They are taking Burn Chip, but it's not going to be enough. They've only got 3 Pokemon left. And without any sort of priority, Supercell Slam is easily going to be... I don't really think that crit mattered, even if it did. It's kind of tough. That is a Guts boosted Supercell Slam. That was a risky move to go for. I gotta be honest. I'm more of a Wild Charge guy myself. I would rather at least get the damage off guaranteed than have myself miss and take War Chip for no reason. As this Luxray has been able to all of a sudden, out of nowhere, start to pull back from 1 to 4. Now it's nothing but their Rampardos left. Can Rampardos attempt to be able to live a hit here? I mean, considering the Lucario died to the Supercell Slam, I'm very dubious. We'll see. Goes for Facade, Raw Facade, as that is able to take out the Rampardos. So, GG's to Zeus for managing to get the comeback sweep here. Aprater just needed some priority. Alright, so we can indeed confirm that Supercell Slam in the last game with Aprater versus Zeus definitely killed regardless of the crit. Did about 110% minimum with Jolly Luxray, so even more if they were adamant. So in this case though, we have Lazyboi versus Stefan. We got the Sticky Webs versus the Sticky Webs. Triple regen core on the opposing side, very hyped up. We'll see how it does here. So they're going to lead right off with the Clawitzer here. So leading off with the webs, Lazyboi wants to get the webs up right away because in his mind there isn't much that they can do. There's not really any hazard removal. There is one though, one lesser known hazard remover, which is this Noctowl right here. However, if they can manage to get rid of the Noctowl, as you can see, that Knockout doing massive damage to this thing. Not much defense on that side with a Noctowl. So if they can get rid of it, then the webs can immediately go back up. So webs go right back up. Don't even wait to get rid of the Noctowl. The Ariados is down, but all they have to do is try to bring in something faster to potentially try to take this Noctowl down. Now, if the Noctowl switches out, that could be a potential problem because then webs could potentially get removed away at a later time. They decided going up into their own bird here, creating their Talonflame, as they go for the Brave Bird and take out the Noctowl. So, no risk of their webs being defogged. Now, let's not forget that Stefan has their own web setter, so could potentially have webs up on both sides and cancel out the effect. But decide to go Slowking, the regular Slowking. Go for the Trick Room against the Volcanion here. So Volcanion, neither of these Pokemon are able to hit each other that well. Even a Fire Spin, the Slowking could potentially chilly reception out. They go for the Power Gem though. Very rarely seen move coming off of a Slowking. Great tech and prep for this Volcanion. Now at this point though, the Volcanion is going to force them to attempt a chilly reception. So taking advantage of that, they double down. They don't really do chilly reception. They have the Power Gem spam. But since they're spamming Power Gem, they can now get this an opportunity to get in Florges and Calm Mind up. But Stefan came prepared with the Psyshock, doing a lot of chip damage. Able to ignore those Spadef boosts that this Florges is getting. But Florges does have a hidden tech up its sleeve, which is the Synthesis. So with the Synthesis, the Florges and the leftovers, of course, Florges is going to be able to 1v1 this Slowking, especially now that the Trick Room is gone. So lower this attack. Slowking tries to keep up the Trick Room, but this Florges is going to continuously get healing. You need to figure out some way to try to deal with this thing. Remember, the webs are up. Everything is pretty much going to try to be slower than this thing. Now at this point they are going to Psyshock here as they go for another Synthesis. As the Trick Room turns are running out, this Slowking is not going to be able to beat this Florges, as we've seen. No matter how many times you Psyshock, it's not doing enough, and now the Moonblast does take out the Slowking. The Trick Room turns are running down, so you need to figure out how you're going to be able to take out those Florges. We can contrast this though with Lazyboi. Lazyboi has perfectly set up in the optimal position. They're free to get another Calm Mind off versus the Chandelure if they so choose, and become even more powerful. They have leftovers for this passive recovery. The Shadow Ball into +2 Florges just shrugs it right off. Remember, Florges has a massive special defense stat. And now this thing is +2. They're able to go for the Chilling Water. I'm honestly surprised that didn't take it out, but it is only 50 base power. Chandelure is able to tank the hit and try to go for another Shadow Ball, but it's just not doing enough. And now the Trick Room is over. Florges officially has the speed advantage, except for the Chandelure apparently. But I think that this Chandelure is indeed Choice Scarf. So they have been locked into Shadow Ball this whole time. That's why they're still able to outspeed them. But at this point, Florges is able to continue to regain health. So the Mienshao comes in, but the Trick Room turns are all gone. The time for this thing to come in and poison jab this Florges potentially has long passed. As now, Florges is sitting pretty. +2 Spadif, +2 Spatak. Leftovers keep on healing it. Nothing on Stefan's side can really take it out. They've only got 2 months left. Lazyboi has only lost 1 Pokemon, being the Ariados. They do have a Focus Sash Galvantula, but that's just going to get shrugged off by this Florges once again, as it can continue to just simply spam Moonblast and just destroy the rest of Stefan's team. So this elegant shiny Florges is really putting in the work, and has basically gotten up almost every kill in the game except for the Noctowl that the Talonflame took out, as even this Mega Launcher Plotzer is no match for this Florges, as they're going to show off the Terra Dragon at the end, as the Moonblast is going to finish off the Cloyster. So GG's to Lazyboi and Stefan.
So that Lazyboi versus Stefan game was a scary sign of things to come with that Florges in future weeks. But now we are on to Kingbura versus Fournaubyl. So they weren't kidding when they said they misspelled their username in game. A big thing to note here, take a look at all the levels of the Pokemon. You will see they're all almost level 100, except for, that poor Rabombi over there, level 59. So make sure you check your levels, folks, and make sure that your levels are level 100. So, that being said, though, I will say I do like the Primarina here. It does have the choice specs. I've run choice specs Primarina myself, and it can hit pretty hard. If they can get it in on the right Pokemon, it could do a lot of damage here. Of course, we've got the Hippo, which walls a lot of the things like the Doug Trio, the Alolan Doug Trio, and the Mimikyu. It's nice that they've got the mons up there at the top as well. So we got Primarina versus the level 59 Rabombi. So obviously, you want to be able to set up webs here. You could get a free flip turn out here, which is what Kingbura is going to do. And it's going to do massive damage. Massive damage. He almost took it out. So Kingbura was like, well, that's a lot more than I was expecting. I can understand. So they're going to come out into Young Choice Banded Lycanroc. Does get the speed drop, but that's no matter for the power of Accelerock here. Once they lock themselves in, though, they're going to have to switch. So let's see if they were predicting Accelerock. Going to do a lot with that Choice Band, I'm going to be honest here. So now Lycanroc is free to be able to switch out here. They're going to go out into their Cryogonal. Cryogonal, infamously bulky in terms of its SPDF, as it can also potentially get a rapid spin off here. I will say, though, probably not the best considering that they have a Mimikyu on the other side, and they are indeed going to go for what I believe is the Freeze Dry there, having to infer what all these moves are based on the context of the Pokemon. So Terra Electric, they no longer have any immunities. They do indeed go for the Freeze Dry and Break the Disguise on the Mimikyu. They've got Flash Cannon on this set, but Crowley does not have the best physical defense, so might not be the best idea to stay in here. We'll see what the Mimikyu wants to try and do, though. They do have a Hippowdon that could easily tank any hits that this Mimikyu wants to go for, so we'll see. So in comes Gloria, the Hippowdon. Takes some webs, gets up the sand. So they go for, I'm not even sure what that was. What electric type move? Oh, probably Thunder Wave. So they try to go for the Thunder Wave on the Hippo here. Brazilian Mimikyu, oddly enough, does not affect the Hippo. As in comes the Bronzong as they get up the rocks for the other side. So Rabombi is now dead. Fournaubyl doesn't have any form of hazard removal, so that's going to be pretty solid for the rest of the game. They are also going to get rocks up, though, but Kingbura has the Cryogonal. They're going to go for the Crunch. This was an Air Balloon Bronzong, meaning that it's likely pretty darn sure it's heat-proof. But now it means that Hippo's Earthquakes are able to hit this Bronzong. They do still have the Levitating Road Mow in the back, though, so that's what they're going to go out into right now. It does take some Rock Chip, and it's also going to get a bit of Sand Chip as well. So gradually chipping down the Mons in this team. Now, a fair criticism of Kingbura's team that people have talked about is the fact that his Sand is going to also be chipping his own Pokemon. So Cryogonal is going to get chipped here. Primarina and Salazzle, when they're in, are also going to get chipped as well. At this point, though, you are free to try and go for a move. If Mimikyu wants to come in, it's going to take more chip. And I mean, surely it's got to get it in range. The Rapid Spin after. They're going to try to go for the Rapid Spin right off the bat, though. As Mimikyu comes in, I think they should have tried to go for another Freeze Dry there. Would have been pretty free. Tried to go for the double play, or the Mind Games, assuming that they wouldn't go out in the Mimikyu that time. But no, they are very similar to myself, you know, trying to get the rocks up at all costs. You know, if you're not able to Rapid Spin, at the very least, make sure that your opponent can Rapid Spin. So they set up an SD here with Mimikyu, but Hippowdon is infamously bulky. I don't think it's going to be doing that much. Actually, 420 HP, 420 Blaziken Hippowdon set here. As they go for the Earthquake, does big damage to this Mimikyu, and it's gradually getting chipped. I mean, one way that this Mimikyu could try to beat this Hippo 1v1, I mean, if they are plus 4 times 3 attack, even with the Drain Punch, it's just not healing enough HP. The Earthquake is almost going to take him out, but doesn't quite do it. I could have sworn that Earthquake did way less than last time. Oh, you know what? They're not going for Swords Dance. My bad. No wonder that Drain Punch did so little. They're going for Bulk Up. We're not seeing the SD. I keep saying Swords Dance. It's the Bulk Up Mimikyu. That's why the Earthquake didn't do as much. My bad. So it was only +2 Drain Punch. That's why it didn't do as much. But even Bulk Upset is no problem for Hippowdon, as Dondozo comes in and takes some rocks. Is going to force out Kingbura here. Primarita could come in fairly far. I don't think the Dondozo really has much that can hit this thing. Potentially an Earthquake, but other than that, not much. They're going to get the speed drop, but I don't think it's going to make it matter. They go for, I don't know what was that, Play Nice or something to drop two different things. Tickle or something? It looks like they're dropping their defenses, but they go for the Energy Ball, and it just immediately takes out that Dondozo. But considering the fact that Primarina's defenses are now a -2, when this Alolan Dugtrio comes in, almost any attack really is going to be able to take this thing out at this point, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was its defenses that dropped. You know, I don't speak Italian, but I can infer what that animation was. I know it wasn't Play Nice. As you can see, the Iron is easily going to be able to take them out there. It might even be a choice set. That being said, they do have the Shuka Berry Cobalion, so pretty sure that this thing could live any hit, really. And then go fire off a pretty free Body Press. I mean, they do have a Mimikyu, but you probably don't want to bring Mimikyu hard in on a Cobalion. Because they do need to go for the Body Press. That does big damage, I'm not going to lie. I mean, that appears to be like a Spadef Bronzong set, perhaps, for the Salazzle, although Salazzle could Toxic it with Corrosion. But there we go, Cobalion gets a kill. Good for them. Now, they are going to send in the Mimikyu now, but it's so close to death. A Volt Switch would easily be able to take this out. I'm wondering why they don't just go for the raw Volt Switch, honestly. I guess they figure, you know what else takes that is Sand, though. So the Sand will guarantee take it out. Keep the Cobalion healthy for anything that they might want to do. They do go for the Drain Punch. I guess that with a speedy Mimikyu, it could outspeed a defensive Cobalion. And the Drain Punch just able to keep him out of the range of the Sand. Go for a Shadow Claw there to get a crit. Does it with the crit. And is able to take out the Mimikyu there with Crunch, just in case they were to try to go out into their Rotom-Mow. Now at this point, Kingbura is looking pretty solid here. They've got 5 Mons versus just 2, so they're going to go out into the Cryogonal here. Like we said, very Spadef bulky Pokemon could easily take a Leaf Storm. They're going to go for the Volt Switch and get out of there and bring in the Alolan Dugtrio. Do have Levitate, but I mean that Iron Head is going to do big damage here, particularly if they are Sand Force, which we're not sure if they are. But we'll see. They still need to try and get rid of webs. Now that the Mimikyu is gone, they could finally potentially get rid of these darn sticky webs for their Cobalion and their Lycanroc. So gonna attempt to go for the Rapid Spin here. They barely managed to live, however, that is going to get them in range, ironically, of their own Sand. So the Sand is able to take out the Cryogonal, but it did do its job. It did get rid of webs before it went down. That being said, it does bring them down to 4. Gonna bring in the Cobalion now, as this Cobalion is looking sitting fairly pretty. Now, this is their Terra Captain, although they do switch out, which is pretty much telling me that they are indeed choice of some sort, likely Banded considering you're running webs. You know, I don't see why you need Scarf plus webs. That being said, though, we will see. It's pretty impressive that Cryogonal was able to live that choice banded Iron Head, if that is the case, even though, I mean, of course, it was Terra, but I mean, Cryogonal does not have the best Fizz Def. And I would assume this will be Sand Force Dougie. So, gonna Terra Fly here, is gonna eat that Earthquake up with the Shuka Berry, and now goes for the Body Press into it, does big damage. You don't want to necessarily get crit here, so might not be a bad option to try and go Salazzle, although you are risking the fact. No, I think we've already confirmed that they're choice banned. So if they are choice banded, or at least choice in some way, they're not going to be able to go for the Sucker Punch on the next turn. So this is just a way for Kingbura to try and ensure some differential, and now they can simply go
for the Sludge Wave here and be able to take out the Doug Trio. And that is going to be a 4-0 victory for Kingbura. Very solid game here. And GG's to both opponents. And here we have one of the most epic games of the week in terms of rivalries. We have Pokemaster, aka Chris, going up against Brandon. These two have done so many mocks together for not only their own games, but other people's games. They've really forged a bond here in the BHDL. They've done a lot of casual battles as well, just in the regular server. So it'd be interesting to see how these two will do against each other. Who knows how many times they've battled in the BHDL? At least 3 before this point. So it's always the classic game. We see 2 Scarfers on Pokemaster's side in the Scarf Gladion, which is their Terra Captain, and the Scarf Rotom-Mow. So let's see what Brandon's going to do about this. So lead off with Kyogre. That really threw me for a loop when I thought I was still back in Season 5. It is a Goodra though. So the Rotom-Mow is really going to be able to switch out with the Volt Switch on this guy. Send to the Claude. You already know Claude can eat any type of special attacks this thing wants to go for. It drops a Draco. Does a good amount of chip, 45% in the eject pack. Keeping Brandon in the driver's seat, being able to switch something else in for this pesky Claude Sire. So they send in the Swag Sire. That's the thing. It's the battle of the sires. They go for the substitute now, as is able to just ignore that Toxic. So great plays here by Brandon to start, as Brambleghast comes in. Note the Infiltrator here. The Infiltrator Brambleghast is going to be able to sneak past that substitute with a potential Power Whip or Seed Bomb. I think it was Power Whip. And would do a lot of damage. It all depends on if Brandon knows that it is indeed Power Whip. So if they can land this hit, this is a dead Swag Sire. And indeed, Swag Sire goes down almost immediately. Very unfortunate for Brandon. Did not see the Power Whip coming. Now they send in Kyogre. Obviously, could go for a potential Poltergeist, but you're not going to kill. And this thing is likely packing Flamethrower or some sort of coverage. Although if they're packing Flamethrower, it's going to hit the Tinkaton for super effective. So we'll see what happens here. They could also drop a Draco as they go for the knockoff. Get rid of the Citrus Berry. As this is a Swords Dance Tinkaton. This could do some big damage. Could do some big damage after a potential setup. You don't think about Tinkaton being that. You think of it more of as a support role. But then you remember this thing has 160 base power move. So combine that, if you get it to +2, this thing can get up some big numbers. If you go for an Earthquake, it's going to do big damage. I won't lie, this Tinkaton is looking rough, but it does have the play rough to be able to strike back with. So we'll see if, I don't think anything on Brandon's team wants to take a +2 play rough. So they might just have to let this Goodra Kyogre go down. Unless they want to risk anything else potentially going down. You got to figure out what is your most least valuable Pokemon in this matchup. As they do decide, it is Goodra. So down goes the Goodra. Could have also tried to get a miss on the play rough, but Pokemaster does manage to have his Tinkaton connect. And now send in Big Dirge. So could have potentially gone out into it before, but perhaps bring the big Stone Edge. Pokemaster doing a great job of packing coverage on this Tinkaton for almost everything on the team. Skeleturge, with the Unaware, is able to take out the Tinkaton though, and take it out. Although at this point, Skeleturge is greatly weakened. So now the Heracross is in with the Guts, and if you can potentially get up a Trailblazer, that could be dangerous. But they instead decide, definitely not the turn to set the Trailblaze on this. Better to just take it out, but perhaps on a future turn. Could get up a Trailblaze and become a very scary threat at +1 with the Guts boost. Shinobu comes in, the Sneasel. A lot of folks have been discounting Sneasel in the lower tiers, but I mean, this is a Pokemon that, even though it's NFE, it's been used in the PU tiers. So goes to the Gunk Shot, which it turns out to be choice banned, and it just immediately takes out the Heracross. Absolutely insane. Of course, they do have a Clodsire that can eat the hit, but they also have a Scarf, Glaceon. And Glaceon is Terra Ground, as we can see, is easily going to be able to dispatch of this Sneasel. And the fact that they brought it hard in, Brandon would probably want to try to switch out into something else that could take the hit. Otherwise, they lose their Sneasel. Because they do know that Glaceon could potentially be Terra Ground. Since we are not Terra Preview, but have the Terra Crystals, you know the 3 Terra types that your opponent has. So, could definitely try to switch out here. Although I will say, I do believe that Glaceon has fairly high defenses, so I could probably take the Gunk Shot either way. So this Raichu comes in at this point, as indeed it does reveal itself to be Terra Ground. Raichu not really going to be able to do much to this team. I do believe this was actually a Light Clay support screens Raichu, so fake Focus Sash there. A little bit disappointing. I kind of would have expected the Glaceon with the Terra Blast Terra Ground to be able to one-shot it, but I think maybe because it was a support set and it was more of a bulky Raichu than one would expect, it was just barely able to cling on to life. But Glaceon did manage to take it out, we can't deny that. So the Kamala is in at this point. This is Brandon's Terra Captain. We'll see what they want to do here. They send out the Rotom, still at full HP. They go for the Rapid Spin. Unfortunately, though, for Brandon, he was hoping to perhaps be faster after a couple Rapid Spins. But be careful what you wish for, because with this trick, they are going to be forced to continue to go for Rapid Spins. So this Kamala did get a crit, I will say, on this Rotom. Is incredibly fast, but now it is locked into Rapid Spin, and they know they have a Bramble Gas that's coming in. Knowing that, they're going to try to get in the Sneasel on the opposing Bramble Gas, so not too shabby here on Brandon with the forethought of the Bramble Gas switch in, and so now Gunk Shot's looking pretty free, but Pokemaster already has a chipped down Rotom that they can simply sack off here and be able to get in their Glaceon once again. And of course, the even though Kamala has a decent amount of SPDF, it has already been greatly chipped. So I think that Glaceon simply just has to go for a couple Terra Blast grounds, and it's probably GG's at this point. So yeah, ultimately, biggest takeaways from this game: do not forget if your opponent has Infiltrator. Now, of course, Noivern could have had Infiltrator. That could have been scary, bypassing the screens with its Hurricanes in Game 1. But it was in fact Frisk, as we saw right off the bat. But the sneaky Infiltrator here. Oh, you know, I thought that this thing was chipped, but no, it just got tricked. Instead, this Kamala was at full, but still got 2 KO'd. So I would argue this is fairly impressive work from Glaceon, being able to 2 KO Kamala. Unless this Kamala just did not have any HP. But still, 2 KOing it, pretty solid. There we go. Down goes the Kamala, as all that's left is that Sneasel. And I don't think that Sneasel really has anything that can hit it with. I mean, obviously it has close combat, but I'm saying it's going to get outsped here and get Terra Blast ground. And there's no way that it tanks this hit. Absolutely not. So, GG's to Pokemaster, apparently for the first time, beating Brandon. Now, for our 2 other games that we did not see, unfortunately, the epic showdown between Captain B-Nard and Notorious H.I.M was not to be due to travel delays and busy schedules. So Captain B-Nard ended up with the win here, as Notorious H.I.M graciously decided about giving the 4th win. Hopefully we'll see them both in their own respective battles in this next upcoming week. We did manage to get the Cody versus Anastasia game, though, in which Cody did manage to take the dub here, with Go-Goat putting in an impressive amount of work with the 3 kills that it got as a Terra Captain, with Serena, Sneasel, and Gligar also putting in a little bit of work. On Anna's side, the Tornadus did get to put in a little bit of work, got 2 kills, and the Muck as well. So not too shabby on their side. A good amount of work, but unfortunately just was not enough to get the dub. If we take a look at our transactions here, we can see that there are quite a few here. So starting off with Zeus has made 4 transactions, took out the Entei, took out the Zangoose, took out the Dracloak, and got 4 back in return. So first off being Scyther and Electrode. which give them a good bit of speed. So Scyther having that 105, Electrode 150, that's huge. So basically outspeeding everything. Very impressive. Magmortar giving them a stronger special attacker. Pretty solid. And Palossand, another defensive Pokemon. So I think that this is going to help improve their team quite a bit, patch up some of the holes that they had. Following that, we then have Cody, who just got 3 kills with this Go-Goat and traded in along with the Dugong in order to shore up a bit more of their fire-type weaknesses. Of course, Avalugg being neutral to fire, but it is going to be a Terra Captain, a very good Terra Captain that, as well as Frogadier, who could force a fire resist and fairly solid attacker in this low-tier format. Notorious H.I.M traded in their Comfey and also had 3 additional points in order to be able to get Articuno Galar and Avalugg. So we're seeing a lot of these, the use of the Avaluggs here. Of course, Spinners, not too good to. Spinners aren't. Spinners are hard to come by, is what I'm trying to say. So we're seeing them be picked up at. But we then see that Stefan has traded away his Regent Core. The Slowking and the Hydrapple are going away along with the little Insane Slash, and they're picking up the Tentacruel. So goodbye to this Snow Core, goodbye to Knockdown and Arbok. I do think that this is an impressive team. I'm wondering what the Furgraf is going to do. I know I've doubted Furgraf before when Anna had it, but perhaps Stefan will be able to find a way. I wanted to say that Anna was able to put in work with her Furgraf. I just initially doubted it. We also have the Brute Bond here, who is worth 14 points. That is, I guess, in order to dissuade too much abuse from Sun teams. Meanwhile, we have Pokemaster, who decided to pick up Stefan's Slowking and trade in his own Slowbro. Anna traded in her Garganachi and Vikavolt for the Goat in Breloom and Umbreon, 2 very goated Pokemon. Umbreon infamously bulky, Breloom infamously offensive, so I think this is pretty solid. And the Machesney Park Slowpokes decided to change Rampardos' Terras. So we can see right here now that Rampardos' Terras are Rock, Electric, and Fairy. With that being said, though, we have some great matches coming up in the second week. We have Arcaniner versus Lazyboi, so 2 coaches that just got dubs, played their games fairly well. We'll see how they get to go off again. In my mind, these are 2 of the strongest rising coaches here, Arcaniner and Lazyboi. Coaches that have been kind of... Arcaniner's made playoffs before, though, of course. Lazyboy's just been right underneath it, but I think that this season goes to show that these are 2 of the coaches to look out for this season. We have Pokemaster versus Danger Dave. Pokemaster coming off of a strong game 1, going up against Danger Dave, who just barely lost and is looking to get some redemption. We have Kingbura off of a very commanding game 1 as well, going up against Stefan, and we'll see how their new transactions work out for them. DrVr and Brandon, 2 coaches that are going to need a little bit of assistance this week after their game 1 losses, but I think that they're both seeking a redemption here, and we're going to be looking forward to seeing how they do against each other. H.I.M, like we said, wasn't able to play. Fournaubyl also seeking some redemption, so very excited to be able to see both of these coaches go at it. Hopefully H.I.M is able to record it and get it uploaded for us. We next have Zeus coming off of his game 1 upset versus Aprater, with his newly improved team as well, going up against Al off of, like we said, a very commanding. Although I will say, I mean, DrVr had him on the ropes there for a minute with that Stomping Tantrum and some of his other mons. The Petulant too. I will say that Al was on the back foot for the majority of the opening of the game up until the Phalanx let them set up. So we'll see if Al is able to repeat his game 1 success, or if the Jumpluff was just a mere coincidence with the Phalanx. And then of course we have Cody going up against B-Nard, and hopefully we're going to be able to get this game uploaded and see what happens here. Haven't seen either of these coaches play yet this season. Cody has played, but we haven't been able to see it, so being able to see them on footage for Season 6 is going to be epic. And Anna, also, we haven't seen her yet, but Aprater is easily going to get that uploaded for us. So we'll see. And both of these coaches are seeking redemption as well. So we've got several matches where we've got week 1 winners and several matches where we have folks that are looking to get their first win. So should be an epic week of matches for us. With that being said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next recap. Bye-bye.